The stars of the Orion frontier shimmered beyond the immense crystal dome of the Galactic Military Academy, their distant light reflecting across polished metallic floors that had witnessed thousands of graduating heroes. For over 3,000 years, the Academy had produced the greatest commanders in known space. Every dominant species had walked these halls. The towering Karvax, whose armored hides could withstand plasma fire. The graceful Ileri, masters of strategy and diplomacy. The insectoid Vesic, capable of processing battlefield calculations faster than quantum computers. The amphibious Thala, renowned for surviving worlds where others suffocated within minutes. And then, there were humans. Or rather, one human. Cadet Ethan Cross. He stood alone in Formation Hall 7 while nearly 400 alien cadets lined the surrounding platforms above him. Every eye was fixed on him. Not with admiration. With amusement. A booming laugh echoed from the upper balcony. "So that's Earth's finest?" Another voice answered. "They actually sent one? They're either brave or desperate." Laughter spread through the chamber like wildfire. Ethan didn't look up. He had heard worse. For 3 years, every morning had begun exactly like this. Every training exercise. Every classroom lecture. Every combat simulation. Humans were the newest members of the Galactic Coalition. They were considered unpredictable. Emotionally unstable. Too willing to take risks. Primitive compared to civilizations that had traveled the stars for millennia. To the galaxy. Humans weren't soldiers. They were accidents waiting to happen. Instructor Commander Zorvac stepped onto the central platform. The massive reptilian officer stood nearly 9 feet tall, medals gleaming across emerald armor plates. His golden eyes swept across the cadets before settling on Ethan. Today's tactical simulation concerns planetary extraction under impossible conditions. A holographic battlefield emerged above the arena. Burning cities. Crashing starships.
Civilian évacuation zone.
Enemy fleets closing from every direction. Commander Zorvac continued. "You have one objective. Save as many civilians as possible." Groups immediately began forming. Species naturally clustered together. Karvax with Karvax. Ileri with Ileri. Vesic with Vesic. No one walked toward Ethan. Not one. Commander Zorvac noticed. He sighed. "Cadet Cross." Ethan answered immediately. "Sir, you'll conduct the exercise alone." Quiet laughter rippled through the room. Ethan simply nodded. Understood. The simulation began. Chaos exploded across the holographic city. Buildings collapsed.
Anemi bombes skramat tubayat.
Civilian distress signals multiplied faster than anyone could answer. Most cadet teams followed Academy doctrine perfectly. Protect strategic assets. Preserve military infrastructure. Accept unavoidable civilian losses. Textbook efficiency. Ethan ignored the textbook. He rerouted evacuation corridors. Sacrificed military depots. Collapsed bridges behind enemy armor. Ordered rescue drones into zones officially labeled unsalvageable. Several instructors exchanged concerned looks. One whispered, his abandoning military objectives. Another frowned.
No.
His protecting people. Minutes later. Simulation complete. Results appeared above every team. Most squads achieved success ratings between 70 and 80%. Ethan's flashed across the chamber. Civilian survival rate, 98. 7 military infrastructure preserved, 41 strategic asset loss. Severe. The chamber fell silent. Commander Zorvac stared at the results. They survived. An Ileri cadet crossed her arms. He ignored protocol. A Vesic clicked its mandibles. Reckless. Another instructor quietly muttered, but effective. Commander Zorvac dismissed the thought almost immediately. The objective was balanced preservation. He looked directly at Ethan. "You relied on instinct." Ethan finally spoke. "If soldiers exist to protect people, then people have to come first." Silence. Several younger cadets shifted uneasily. No one answered. Commander Zorvak's expression hardened. Dismissed. Outside the Academy towers, rain drifted across floating gardens suspended above the city world of Astrion Prime. Ethan sat alone beneath a massive silver tree overlooking endless traffic lanes weaving between skyscrapers. He removed his Academy gloves. His knuckles still carried scars from years before spaceflight. Earth. Before the Coalition. Before every lesson became another reminder that humanity didn't belong. Footsteps approached. Cadet Lyra. An Illyri communications specialist. One of the few who occasionally acknowledged Ethan's existence. She stopped beside him. You embarrassed half the instructors. I wasn't trying to. I know. She looked toward the Academy. They fear humans. Ethan laughed quietly. They don't fear us. They pity us. Lyra slowly shook her head. No. They fear what they don't understand. Before Ethan could answer, emergency alarms erupted across the entire Academy. Deep crimson lights flooded the skyline. Every communication display activated simultaneously. An automated voice echoed through the city. Security breach. Prototype navigation core compromised. Immediate lockdown initiated. Cadets sprinted in every direction. Military officers rushed toward the research wing. Dropships roared overhead. Lyra frowned. What happened? Ethan stood. I don't know. Neither of them noticed shadowed figures disappearing into maintenance corridors. Within minutes, the entire Academy assembled inside the Grand Tribunal chamber. High Chancellor Zirath floated above the central platform, surrounded by Coalition admirals. His expression was colder than vacuum. The prototype quantum navigation core has been stolen. A wave of shocked whispers swept through the chamber.
Impossible.
It was heavily guarded. The Coalition cannot tolerate betrayal inside this institution. Ethan's voice remained steady. I didn't do it. No response. No investigation. No second chance. Judgment had already been decided long before the evidence appeared. The Chancellor raised one hand. Cadet Ethan Cross. For treason against the Galactic Coalition. You are permanently expelled from the Academy. A murmur spread through the chamber. Then came the second sentence. And by unanimous military decree. You are hereby exiled to Deathworld Varkros. Even seasoned officers stiffened. Several cadets inhaled sharply. Someone whispered, not Varkros. No one survives Varkros. It's not exile. It's execution. Ethan finally understood. This had never been punishment. It was disposal. The galaxy had found the perfect way to erase its unwanted human. Hours later, a single prison transport drifted away from Astrion Prime.
No ceremony. No farewell.
Only silence. Inside the cramped escape pod, Ethan secured the final harness across his chest. Outside the viewing window, a dark planet slowly filled the stars. Varkros. Clouds black as ash. Endless lightning. Mountain ranges like broken teeth. Even from orbit, the world radiated hostility. The onboard computer announced in a calm mechanical voice, atmospheric entry in 30 seconds. Ethan took one slow breath. If this is how it ends, I'll make them regret underestimating humanity. The pod struck the upper atmosphere. Fire engulfed the hull. Warning lights exploded across every display. Then, one by one, every communication channel went silent. Static. Nothing. No Academy.
No coalición.
No stars. Only the growing roar of a world that seemed eager to swallow him whole. The escape pod screamed through the atmosphere like a dying star. Its outer hull glowed white-hot as friction clawed away layer after layer of reinforced alloy. Every warning light inside the cramped cockpit flashed crimson. Structural integrity at 43%. Guidance systems offline. Impact unavoidable. Ethan tightened the restraints across his chest until they bit into his shoulders. The violent shaking blurred every display. Outside the viewport, he caught only brief glimpses through rivers of flame. Towering mountain peaks pierced black storm clouds like the fangs of some unimaginable beast. Rivers glowed an eerie crimson. Lightning wasn't white. It burned emerald green. Then the pod lurched violently to one side.
No.
A deafening explosion echoed beneath him. One of the stabilizing thrusters had torn free. The escape pod began spinning.
Fast.
Too fast. The horizon disappeared into a whirlpool of jungle, mountains, clouds, and fire. Ethan forced himself to breathe. Panic would kill him long before the crash did. Years of academy survival drills returned automatically. Assess. Prioritize. Adapt. He ignored the flashing alarms. The right side maneuvering controls were completely dead. The left side emergency thrusters still responded. Barely. He switched to manual control. The pod refused to obey. Again. 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 Tiny bursts of compressed plasma fought against the spin. Not enough to stop it. Just enough to change the angle. He wasn't trying to land anymore. He was trying to survive. The jungle rushed upward. Thousands of colossal trees stretched toward the sky, each trunk thicker than ancient Earth skyscrapers. Their branches intertwined so densely that sunlight barely reached the forest floor. Except, there wasn't much sunlight to begin with. Dark clouds rolled endlessly overhead. The world felt permanently trapped between day and night. The pod smashed through the upper canopy. Branches the size of freight trains shattered against the hull. Metal screamed. Emergency fuel ignited. The craft ricocheted between massive trunks before carving a trench through the jungle floor. Finally, everything stopped. Silence. Then, a hiss. Smoke filled the cockpit. The restraints automatically released. Ethan dropped onto one knee, coughing. His ears rang. Blood trickled from a cut above his eyebrow. He checked himself methodically. Broken bones? None. Concussion? Possibly minor. Equipment? Mostly intact. His emergency survival pack remained secured beneath the pilot seat. His combat knife. Water purifier.
Portable scanner.
Medical kit. Signal beacon. He slung everything across his back. The beacon flashed red. No orbital connection. He wasn't surprised. No one intended to rescue him. The pod's emergency hatch refused to open. Hydraulic failure. Ethan drew his survival cutter. The blade hissed with blue plasma. He carved a rough circle through the damaged hatch before kicking the metal outward. Warm air flooded inside. Humid. Heavy. Almost impossible to breathe. The jungle smelled strangely alive. Not simply of plants. Of predators. Stepping outside, Ethan immediately understood why civilized species feared Varkros. Everything moved. Massive vines slowly coiled around nearby trees. Flowers opened and closed with unsettling precision. Tiny insects shimmered like living gemstones. Even the moss appeared to pulse. Nothing felt passive. Nothing felt harmless. His portable scanner activated automatically. Instantly, warning symbols covered the display. Toxic spores detected unknown biological agents, extreme predator density. The scanner suddenly froze. Every reading disappeared. Then one word appeared. Error. The system shut itself down. Ethan frowned. That's impossible. Military scanners weren't supposed to fail. Unless the ecosystem itself exceeded coalition databases. A low growl echoed somewhere beyond the trees. Not loud. Deep. Patient. He slowly turned. Nothing. Only shadows. Leaves rustled overhead. Then another sound. Something enormous moving through the canopy. Too heavy to be climbing. Yet somehow. It did. He continued walking. Never running. Predators chased prey. Confident creatures conserved energy. Every survival instructor had repeated that lesson endlessly. The jungle grew darker. Towering fungi emitted faint blue light beneath twisted roots. Strange birds with transparent wings circled silently overhead. One landed on a nearby branch. Its eyes contained 3 pupils. It stared directly at Ethan. Without blinking. Another landed. Then another. Within minutes. Dozens watched him. None made a sound. The feeling crawled beneath his skin. I'm being studied. The birds flew away simultaneously. A heartbeat later. Something exploded from the undergrowth. A 6-legged predator nearly the size of a ground vehicle launched toward him. Rows of hooked teeth snapped inches from his face. Ethan reacted instantly. Instead of retreating, he stepped forward. His combat knife drove beneath the creature's lower jaw where armored plates separated during its attack. The beast shrieked. Green blood sprayed across nearby vines. Rather than pressing the attack, Ethan twisted free and rolled sideways. The wounded predator charged again. This time Ethan grabbed a hanging vine. Using the beast's own momentum, he swung above it. The creature crashed headfirst into an enormous stone outcrop. The impact echoed through the jungle. Its neck broke. Silence returned. Ethan stood breathing heavily. His hands trembled. Not from fear. From adrenaline. One mistake and I'm dead. He cleaned the blade before continuing. Every movement mattered now. Hours passed. The deeper he traveled, the stranger the world became. Trees grew taller. Gravity seemed inconsistent. Some rocks floated several feet above the ground. Crystal formations hummed with low vibrations. Entire streams flowed uphill. None of it obeyed physics he understood. Then came the rain. Without warning, huge drops slammed into the canopy. Within seconds it became a torrent. Each raindrop struck leaves hard enough to punch holes through them. Ethan held out one glove hand. A single drop landed. The outer layer of reinforced fabric instantly began smoking. Acid. He sprinted beneath a massive overhanging root system. Steam rose everywhere the rain touched the jungle. Plants dissolved. Small creatures melted where they stood. The storm wasn't weather. It was another predator. When the rain finally stopped nearly an hour later, the landscape had changed. Entire trees were gone. New sinkholes had formed. Fresh animal tracks covered the mud. Nothing remained constant here. Varkros reshaped itself after every storm. As dusk settled across the jungle, Ethan searched for higher ground. He found an enormous fallen tree suspended between 2 cliffs. Perfect. Elevated. Defensible. Using survival cord and sharpened branches, he constructed a crude shelter before darkness completely swallowed the forest. He refused to light a fire. Too visible. Instead, he ate concentrated ration bars while studying the surroundings.
No insects chirped.
No distant animal calls echoed. The silence itself felt unnatural. Almost deliberate. His instincts screamed that something was wrong. He checked the perimeter. Nothing. He checked again. Still nothing. Then he noticed it. The tracks surrounding his camp. Large. Circular. Dozens of them. They hadn't been there minutes earlier. Whatever made them had walked around him. Again. And again. Never approaching. Never leaving. As though inspecting him. A chill ran through his spine. That night, sleep came only in fragments. Several times Ethan awoke convinced someone was watching. Each time, nothing. Yet the feeling never disappeared. Hours before dawn, he climbed onto the highest point of the fallen tree. The jungle stretched endlessly beneath rolling black mist. Then the mist moved. Not naturally. Purposefully. Like countless unseen shapes slipping between ancient trees. His breathing slowed. The sensation returned. Stronger than before. The planet wasn't merely dangerous. It felt aware. As though every vine, every creature, every gust of wind carried the same silent attention. Watching. Judging. Waiting. Ethan slowly reached for his knife. Somewhere beyond the wall of darkness, a massive pair of glowing amber eyes opened. Higher than his shelter. far larger than any creature he had yet encountered. Leaves shifted almost silently beneath unimaginable weight. A colossal silhouette stood motionless between the ancient trees. It could have attacked. It didn't. It simply watched him. The amber eyes never blinked. They hovered above the jungle floor like twin suns suspended in an ocean of darkness. Ethan remained perfectly still atop the fallen tree, every muscle locked in place. His hand rested on the handle of his combat knife, but he made no attempt to draw it. 3 years of military training whispered the same lesson into his mind. Never provoke a predator that already has the advantage. The creature was enormous. Even hidden among the towering trees, Ethan could estimate its size. 30 meters long. Perhaps more. Its shoulders alone rose higher than the Academy's training hangars back on Asteroian Prime. The jungle seemed to shrink around it. Then the beast moved. Not with the explosive violence Ethan expected. Instead, one slow step. Then another. Branches thicker than starship support beams bent beneath its weight without snapping. The ground trembled softly. The air itself seemed to retreat. Every instinct screamed at Ethan to run. He ignored them. Running meant becoming prey. The beast lowered its massive head. Its glowing eyes studied him with unsettling intelligence. Not hunger. Curiosity. "What are you?" Ethan whispered. The creature tilted its head slightly. Almost. Confused. Then, a deafening roar shattered the silence. It didn't come from the giant. It came from somewhere behind Ethan. He spun instantly. 3 smaller predators burst from the undergrowth. Each stood nearly 4 meters tall on 6 muscular legs covered in dark crimson armor. Their mouths unfolded into rings of serrated teeth. Unlike the giant, these creatures had no curiosity, only hunger. The first charged. Ethan dove sideways as claws carved deep trenches through the fallen tree where he'd been standing moments earlier. Wood exploded around him. He rolled to his feet. 1 enemy in front. 2 circling behind. The giant beast hadn't moved. It simply watched. Why? There was no time to answer. The second predator lunged. Ethan grabbed a loose branch thicker than his arm and jammed it sideways into the creature's open jaws. Its teeth slammed shut. The branch shattered. But the brief delay gave him exactly what he needed. He pivoted. His combat knife found the narrow gap beneath the beast's armored shoulder. The blade sank deep. The predator shrieked. Green blood splashed across Ethan's sleeve. The wounded creature stumbled backward. The third immediately attacked. Ethan ducked beneath its sweeping claws. Too slow. 1 razor-sharp talon sliced across his left shoulder. Pain exploded through his arm. His jacket tore open. Warm blood ran down his side. He forced himself to keep moving. Pain could wait. Stopping meant dying. The predators began coordinating. 1 attacked high. Another low. The third circled toward his blind side. They're hunting like soldiers. Ethan realized. They're communicating. The giant beast still hadn't interfered. It simply observed. As though judging. The fight pushed deeper into the jungle. Ethan deliberately retreated toward uneven ground littered with massive exposed roots. He wasn't stronger. He wasn't faster. So he changed the battlefield. The lead predator charged confidently. Exactly as he'd hoped. Its front leg struck a moss-covered root hidden beneath thick vines. The creature lost balance. Only for an instant. That was enough. Ethan leaped. Both boots slammed into its neck. The beast crashed sideways into another predator. The collision echoed through the forest. Without hesitation, Ethan sprinted toward a towering stone pillar. He climbed halfway up using natural cracks before turning back. The remaining predators followed. Their powerful bodies couldn't climb nearly as efficiently. 1 finally managed to reach him. Ethan waited. Closer. Closer. Then he kicked loose a large section of weathered rock. The stone crashed directly onto the creature's skull. It tumbled backward. The others retreated instinctively. Not defeated. Recalculating. Their confidence had disappeared.
Prédateurs respectaient danger.
Humans became dangerous when cornered. A low rumble rolled across the jungle. The enormous beast finally moved. One single step. Every smaller predator froze instantly. Their aggressive posture vanished. Heads lowered. Tails flattened against the ground. The giant hadn't attacked. It hadn't roared. Its mere presence commanded absolute obedience. The wounded hunters slowly backed away into the dense vegetation. Within seconds, they were gone. Ethan remained exactly where he stood, breathing hard. Blood continued dripping from his shoulder. His knife trembled slightly in his hand. The giant turned toward him. Now nothing separated them. Morning sunlight barely filtered through the endless canopy as the massive creature approached. Its appearance became clearer with every step. Dark charcoal scales covered its body like overlapping shields. Ancient scars crossed its enormous shoulders. One curved horn had broken years before. Its amber eyes carried something Ethan never expected. Age. Wisdom. Sorrow. Then he noticed the blood. Not his own. The giant's left foreleg dragged slightly. A deep wound stretched across its side. Something had pierced even those incredible scales. Fresh blood pooled beneath every step. The injury was severe. Ethan frowned. That's why you didn't fight. The beast stopped 20 meters away. Its breathing was labored. Only now did Ethan realize something even stranger. The wound wasn't fresh. It was infected. Dark veins spread outward beneath the scales. The smell reached him moments later.
Rot.
Whatever had injured the creature would eventually kill it. The logical choice was obvious. Leave. A wounded apex predator remained an apex predator. Helping it bordered on suicide. He turned. Took 3 steps. Stopped. Memories flooded back. Earth. Mountain survival exercises with his father. His father's calm voice echoed inside his mind. The measure of a person isn't how they treat friends, Ethan. It's how they treat something that can never repay them. He looked back. The giant still watched silently. It made no attempt to approach. No attempt to threaten. It simply waited. Ethan sighed softly. I must be completely insane. Slowly. Very slowly. He placed his combat knife on the ground. Both hands remained visible. No fighting. The beast's pupils narrowed. Another cautious step. Ethan reached into his medical pack. The creature's muscles instantly tensed. I know. I don't trust strangers either. His voice remained calm. Steady. He removed antiseptic spray. Biofoam. Field bandages. Not nearly enough for a creature this size. But perhaps enough. The giant lowered its head slightly. Watching every movement. Ethan approached one careful step at a time. Close enough now to appreciate the sheer scale of the wound. Whatever weapon had caused it had driven nearly half a meter into muscle. Fragments still remained embedded beneath the scales. Metal. Old. Corroded. He swallowed. This is going to hurt. The creature didn't move. Using survival pliers, Ethan carefully gripped the largest fragment. He pulled. Nothing. He planted one boot against the scales. Pulled harder. The metal finally came free. The giant released a thunderous roar that shook leaves from every nearby tree. The sound nearly knocked Ethan off his feet. Yet, the beast never struck him. Instead it endured. Trusting him, Ethan immediately sprayed antiseptic into the wound. The creature flinched violently. Then came the biofoam. The expanding medical compound sealed much of the damaged tissue. Not perfect, but enough to stop the infection from spreading further. Minutes passed. Neither spoke. One human. One monster. Breathing beneath an ancient jungle canopy. Finally, the giant slowly lowered itself onto one knee. Not collapsing. Kneeling. Its enormous head dipped until one amber eye rested only inches from Ethan. He cautiously placed one hand against the warm scales. You'll live. The beast closed its eye briefly, almost peacefully, far beyond Ethan's sight, hidden among the ancient ruins buried beneath twisting vines. Stone statues silently shifted. Eyes that had remained closed for thousands of years slowly opened, within forgotten chambers illuminated by pale blue crystals. Ancient mechanisms awakened. Soft voices echoed through empty halls. A human. He healed the guardian.
Impossible.
No conqueror has ever offered mercy. The trial continues. Unknown watchers observed everything, waiting, judging. When Ethan finally prepared to continue deeper into Varkros, he noticed something unexpected. Heavy footsteps surrounded the clearing. One, then another, then dozens more. The jungle trembled. Trees swayed. Branches cracked. Massive shadows emerged from every direction. Towering predators. Horned giants. Winged hunters. Creatures far larger than the one Ethan had just saved. His heartbeat quickened. His knife remained where he had left it. He made no move to retrieve it. The beasts stepped into the clearing one by one, each powerful enough to kill him in seconds, each staring directly at the human. And yet, not a single one attacked. The clearing remained frozen. Towering predators stood in a silent circle around Ethan, their glowing eyes fixed on the lone human. Their breathing was slow and steady, each exhale stirring leaves and sending waves through the thick jungle mist.
No growls. No snapping jaws.
No signs of aggression. Only silence. It was the same silence Ethan had learned to fear on Varkros. Because on this planet, silence always meant something was about to happen. The giant guardian he had treated slowly rose to its full height. Despite the deep wound across its side, it stood straighter than before. The biofoam had already hardened into a protective shell over the injury. The colossal creature turned toward the surrounding predators. It released a low rumble. Not a roar. A language. The vibration rolled through the ground rather than the air. Every creature lowered its head. Ethan frowned. They're communicating. The guardian looked back at him one final time before stepping into the jungle. The others followed, one after another. None looked away from him until disappearing into the ancient forest. Within moments, the clearing was empty. Ethan stood alone again. Or at least, he thought he was. The feeling of being watched never left. Every few hundred meters he caught movement between enormous tree trunks. Sometimes glowing eyes. Sometimes the outline of a massive horn. Occasionally the shadow of enormous wings passing above the canopy. Whenever he turned fully, nothing. No attack came. No ambush followed. It was as though invisible escorts traveled beside him, watching, evaluating, waiting. His military instincts hated it. His curiosity slowly replaced his fear. What exactly did I walk into? No answer came. Only the whisper of leaves dancing without wind. By midday the jungle began changing. The towering trees gradually gave way to jagged volcanic rock. The air grew hotter. Every breath tasted of sulfur. Thin streams of smoke escaped cracks in the ground. His portable thermometer flashed warnings. Surface temperature, 61 degrees Celsius. The heat climbed every minute. Bird-like creatures abandoned the trees overhead. Even the insects disappeared. Nature itself seemed to be retreating. Ethan stopped beside a black cliff overlooking a valley. His eyes widened. An entire river of molten lava flowed below. Dozens of smaller streams branched away through the landscape like glowing arteries. The jungle didn't end here. It survived alongside the volcano. Massive crimson plants grew directly from the cooled rock, somehow thriving. Another reminder. Varkros ignored every natural law he understood. A deep tremor rolled beneath his boots. Pebbles bounced. Another tremor. Longer this time. The mountain ahead released a column of ash into the sky. Then, the volcano erupted. A deafening explosion shattered the valley. Fire erupted thousands of meters into the clouds. Huge chunks of molten rock rained across the jungle. Shockwaves tore through the forest. Trees toppled. Cliffs collapsed. The eruption wasn't localized. The entire mountain seemed to be exploding apart. Ethan immediately sprinted. Not away from the volcano. Toward higher ground. His academy instructors had drilled planetary disaster survival into every cadet. Lava moved slowly. Pyroclastic clouds did not. He searched desperately. There. A narrow stone ridge climbing towards solid basalt. He pushed harder. Behind him. A wall of burning ash swallowed everything in its path. The air itself ignited. One wrong decision. One hesitation. Death. Halfway up the ridge, the ground split apart. A glowing crack opened beneath his feet. Ethan jumped. His boots barely reached the opposite side. The ledge crumbled behind him. Chunks of stone disappeared into rivers of magma. He never stopped moving. Finally, he reached a rocky overhang. Moments later, the burning cloud swept past. The heat slammed into the cliff like an explosion. Even sheltered beneath solid rock, Ethan felt his exposed skin burning. Minutes passed. The eruption gradually subsided. The valley below had vanished, buried beneath fresh rivers of fire. Ethan stared silently. If I'd run downhill. He never finished the sentence. He didn't need to. The landscape beyond the volcanic region offered no relief. Hours later, the air cooled dramatically. Dense fog rolled across the ground. Water. At last. His canteen was nearly empty. Following the sound of rushing water, Ethan eventually reached an enormous river stretching across the jungle. Crystal clear. Almost beautiful. He knelt carefully. Something felt wrong. No fish.
No insects.
No animals drinking. The surface remained perfectly still despite the strong current. He removed a portable testing strip from his survival kit. One drop touched the water. The strip instantly turned black. Then dissolved completely. Ethan's expression hardened. Not water. He picked up a fallen branch and dipped one end into the river. The wood hissed. Within seconds it dissolved into bubbling sludge. Acid. A river hundreds of meters wide. Crossing became unavoidable. Following it could take days. Swimming meant death. He scanned the surroundings. High above the river, enormous vines stretched between ancient stone pillars. Natural bridges. Barely. Using climbing cord, Ethan secured himself before beginning the dangerous crossing. Halfway across. The vine moved. His eyes widened. It wasn't a vine. It was a living organism. Its massive body slowly coiled around the stone supports. Thousands of tiny eyes opened along its bark-like skin. The creature had been asleep. Until now. It tightened instinctively. The bridge narrowed. Ethan froze. Fighting would only make it react. He slowly reached into his pack. Not for a weapon. For one of his emergency nutrient ration bars. Earlier he had noticed countless small creatures feeding on nearby moss. This giant organism likely relied on similar nutrients. Carefully. He broke off a piece. Placed it gently against the creature's rough skin. The organism paused. Tiny mouths hidden beneath the bark slowly consumed the offering. Its grip loosened. The bridge relaxed. Ethan smiled faintly. Thanks. Step by careful step. He crossed safely. Violence wasn't always survival. Sometimes understanding was stronger. As evening approached, dark storm clouds swallowed the sky. The temperature dropped with terrifying speed. Cold winds replaced tropical humidity. Lightning flashed constantly overhead. Not green this time. Deep violet. The first bolt struck only 50 meters away. The impact vaporized a massive tree. Another followed. Then another. The storm wasn't random. Bolts repeatedly struck the tallest objects, including Ethan. His academy, where the training resurfaced immediately. Never become the highest point. He descended into a narrow canyon surrounded by towering cliffs. Lightning continued hammering the plateau above while he remained relatively protected. Hours passed beneath relentless thunder. At one point he noticed dozens of creatures sheltering alongside him. Massive horned herbivores. Small reptilian scavengers. Winged predators folded tightly against the canyon walls. Normally, most would hunt each other. Tonight, none fought. The storm demanded cooperation. Ethan quietly shared a portion of purified water with a small animal shivering nearby. The frightened creature cautiously accepted. None of the larger beasts objected. When morning finally arrived, the animals calmly left the canyon. Several paused, looking back toward Ethan, almost respectfully. Days passed. The Guardian occasionally appeared in the distance, never approaching, always watching. Other creatures joined the silent procession. A feathered hunter followed from the treetops. Massive grazing beasts walked hundreds of meters behind him. Small glowing creatures gathered around his camps at night before disappearing before sunrise. The number grew every day. Ethan had stopped asking why. Instead, he adapted. He no longer forced paths through dense vegetation. He followed naturally worn animal trails. He avoided nests. Never killed unless absolutely necessary. When he hunted for food, he took only what he required. Nothing more. The jungle slowly changed around him. Predators no longer stalked him constantly. Poisonous plants seemed easier to identify. Hidden dangers revealed themselves sooner. Not because Varkros had become less deadly. Because Ethan had finally stopped treating it like an enemy to conquer. He had begun listening, learning, respecting, and somehow, the planets seemed to notice. Far beneath the ancient jungle, inside forgotten chambers untouched for countless ages, colossal stone mechanisms groaned to life. Blue crystal lights awakened one by one. Invisible energy pulsed through buried corridors. Ancient voices echoed through the darkness. The fourth trial has been accepted. The outsider does not dominate. He endures. He protects. He learns. The jungle above answered. Across mountains. Across rivers. Across volcanic plains. Creatures of every kind lifted their heads, one by one, as though hearing a call older than memory itself. Late that afternoon, Ethan reached an enormous cliff completely hidden beneath cascading vines. The Guardian stood nearby, watching silently. It neither approached nor blocked his path. It simply waited. Curious, Ethan pushed aside the thick curtain of vegetation. His breathing stopped. Behind the vines stood an impossibly massive stone gateway carved directly into the mountainside. Its surface was covered with strange symbols unlike any language in the Galactic Coalition. Ancient, weathered, yet somehow untouched by time. As Ethan stepped closer, the ground trembled. Dust drifted from the towering structure. A deep grinding sound echoed through the jungle. The Guardian lowered its head. Around the clearing, countless hidden creatures emerged from the trees. All watching, all silent. The gigantic stone gateway, buried beneath vines for untold ages, slowly began to open. The sound of grinding stone echoed through the jungle like distant thunder. The gigantic gateway continued to move with agonizing slowness, shedding centuries of dust and thick vines as if the mountain itself had awakened from a forgotten dream. Ethan stood motionless. Even after everything he had survived on Varkros, the predators, the volcanic eruptions, the poisonous rivers, nothing had prepared him for this. This wasn't simply a ruin. It was impossible. The gateway towered nearly 200 meters high, carved directly into the mountainside with astonishing precision. Every block fit together so perfectly that not even the edge of his combat knife could slide between the seams.
No erosión. No cracks.
Only age. And purpose. Behind him, the Guardian lowered itself onto its forelegs. The enormous beast bowed. Not to the doorway. To whoever entered it. Ethan slowly looked around. Every creature surrounding the clearing had done the same. Winged hunters folded their wings. Horned giants lowered their heads. Even the smallest glowing insects settled quietly onto the ground. The entire jungle had become silent once again. Not from fear. From reverence. For me. The thought felt absurd. He was a disgraced cadet. An exile. Nothing more. Yet no matter how much he doubted himself, the planet did not. With one final rumble, the gateway stopped. A narrow opening appeared between the colossal stone doors. Cold air drifted out. Unlike the humid jungle behind him, this air carried no scent.
No dica. No dust.
Only stillness. Ethan activated the light mounted on his survival pack. The beam disappeared into endless darkness. He looked back one last time. The Guardian met his eyes. Its expression was calm. Almost encouraging. "You've been trying to lead me here all along." The beast gave a slow blink. Ethan couldn't explain why. But he understood. Taking a steady breath, he stepped through the opening. The stone doors remained open behind him.
No trap.
No attack. Only silence. The corridor stretched farther than his light could reach. Its walls were covered in intricate carvings unlike any language recorded in Coalition databases. Thousands of symbols flowed across the stone like rivers. Some resembled stars. Others looked like trees. Many resembled creatures Ethan had already encountered in the jungle. One image made him stop. A human. Not merely human-like. Human. The proportions were unmistakable. Standing beside creatures identical to the Guardian. Not fighting. Walking together. Another carving showed humans helping wounded beasts. Another depicted humans planting forests beneath strange constellations. The deeper Ethan looked, the less it made sense. Humans had barely reached interstellar travel. Earth's recorded history couldn't explain ruins this ancient. So who built this place? His voice echoed into the darkness. No answer came. Yet somehow, the silence felt as though it were listening. The corridor opened into an enormous chamber. Ethan instinctively lowered his flashlight. He no longer needed it. Soft blue crystals embedded throughout the walls illuminated the room with a peaceful glow. The chamber was breathtaking. Towering columns disappeared into darkness high above. The ceiling resembled a living night sky. Tiny lights shifted slowly like distant galaxies. Massive statues lined both sides of the hall. Not warriors. Guardians. Each held an empty hand extended toward the center. An invitation. Not a threat. Ethan approached the nearest statue. Its face had long since eroded beyond recognition. Species impossible to identify. But one detail remained perfectly preserved. The figure wore no crown.
No weapon.
Instead, it held another creature's hand. He smiled faintly. Strength through unity. Whoever these builders were, they hadn't worshipped conquest. A soft metallic sound echoed behind him. Click.
Etan spun instantly.
Nothing. Another click. Then another. Tiny lights gradually illuminated across the chamber floor. One after another. Like stars awakening beneath his feet. The entire room vibrated gently. Ancient machinery. Still functioning.
Impossible.
He knelt beside one glowing panel. The material wasn't metal. Nor stone. It felt almost alive. His portable scanner, dead since arriving on Varkros, suddenly flickered. The screen flashed wildly. Unknown energy source, unknown alloy database match. None. Then the scanner shut down again. Whatever powered this place. Coalition technology couldn't even identify it. As Ethan continued exploring, he found an enormous circular platform at the center of the chamber. Its surface displayed an intricate pattern resembling intertwined galaxies. Several empty pedestals surrounded it. Broken. Whatever once rested there had disappeared long ago. In the middle, a single handprint. Perfectly preserved. Human-sized. His heartbeat quickened. No. This can't be coincidence. Every instinct warned him against touching unknown alien technology. Another instinct. one born from endless curiosity. Pulled him closer. He hesitated, then slowly placed his hand over the ancient imprint. For one terrifying second. Nothing happened. Then, light exploded across the chamber. Brilliant streams of blue energy raced through hidden channels inside the walls. The giant statues awakened. Crystal lights blazed overhead. The ceiling transformed into a moving map of the galaxy. Ethan stumbled backward in shock. No way. The entire mountain seemed alive. Throughout the endless corridors, ancient mechanisms dormant for untold ages activated simultaneously. Massive doors unlocked. Hidden elevators began moving. Long-extinct power systems hummed softly. Outside, the jungle reacted. The Guardian raised its head toward the mountain. Predators emerged from forests. Winged creatures circled above the ruins. Every living thing seemed aware that something had changed. Far beneath the surface, unknown voices echoed once more. The genetic seal has accepted. The bloodline remains.
Impossible.
So many ages. The heirs survived. Inside the chamber, the glowing symbols surrounding Ethan shifted. They no longer resembled meaningless alien writing. Slowly, almost impossibly, the symbols rearranged themselves. Into English. His breath caught. The first line appeared. Welcome home. Ethan stared in disbelief. His knees nearly gave way.
No.
How? Another sentence formed beneath it. The garden has waited. More symbols shifted. The children of Earth have returned. His pulse pounded in his ears. Earth. How could an ancient civilization predating the Galactic Coalition know Earth's name? Every answer only created larger questions. Had humans visited Varkros before history began? Had someone visited Earth? Or had humanity forgotten its own past? A soft mechanical hum echoed throughout the chamber. Not threatening. Gentle. One by one, floating crystal spheres descended from the ceiling. They circled Ethan slowly. Scanning. Observing. A beam of pale blue light swept across his face. Another across his injured shoulder. Another over the scars covering his hands. Finally, the spheres stopped. As if satisfied. The platform beneath Ethan glowed brighter. Far across the chamber, an enormous crystal suspended within a stone pillar slowly illuminated from within. Dust drifted away. Hairline cracks spread across its surface. Something inside was moving. The crystal split open. A column of shimmering light rose toward the ceiling, gathering shape as millions of tiny particles assembled into a translucent humanoid figure. Neither male nor female. Ageless. Elegant. Its eyes shone like stars. The holographic figure regarded Ethan with quiet warmth. For several long moments. Neither spoke. Then the ancient intelligence smiled. Its voice carried the calm certainty of someone who had waited longer than civilizations had existed. At last. It has been many millions of cycles. Ethan swallowed hard. Who are you? The luminous figure inclined its head with unmistakable respect. Then, in flawless English, it spoke the words that sent a chill through his entire body. Welcome home. Your Majesty. The words echoed through the ancient chamber. Welcome home. Your Majesty. For several long seconds, Ethan simply stared at the luminous figure. The soft blue glow from the crystals reflected across the polished stone floor while millions of tiny particles continued circling the holographic intelligence like a miniature galaxy. Finally, Ethan shook his head. No. His voice was calm but firm. You've made a mistake. The figure remained perfectly still. There has been no error. I'm not anyone's king. You are the recognized successor. I was expelled from the Galactic Military Academy less than a week ago. A bitter smile crossed Ethan's face. My own government threw me away. I couldn't even convince them I was innocent. So whatever you're expecting. He slowly stepped backward. It isn't me. Silence filled the chamber. The ancient intelligence watched him without judgment, without disappointment, only patience. As expected. Ethan frowned. As expected. The holographic figure nodded. Every worthy candidate has spoken those words. The chamber dimmed. The crystal ceiling transformed once more. Stars appeared overhead. Entire galaxies slowly rotated above them. The AI raised one glowing hand. Images formed in the air. Not holograms. Memories. Ancient civilizations rose and fell in moments. Gigantic cities stretched across worlds unlike anything recorded in Coalition history. Species Ethan had never imagined built magnificent empires before disappearing into time. Then another image appeared. A beautiful planet, covered in oceans, forests, and crystal mountains. Varkros. The AI answered quietly. No. It was once called Illyrian. The peaceful world slowly changed. Its forests became jungles. Its skies darkened. Its mountains erupted with endless volcanic fire. Predators evolved. Storms intensified. The paradise transformed into the death world Ethan now knew. Why? The Ari's expression softened. Because peace without strength cannot survive. The image shifted again. A powerful empire arrived in orbit. Its fleets darkened the sky. Its soldiers landed with advanced weapons. Within days. Every city burned. Every forest was stripped. Every living creature became a resource. They sought power. The AI continued. So the planet adapted. The world fought back. Animals evolved. Plants became poisonous. Weather itself turned hostile. Every generation became deadlier than the last. Eventually, the conquerors vanished. Another empire arrived centuries later. Then another. Each believing technology guaranteed victory. Each disappeared. One after another. The planet remembers. The AI looked directly at Ethan. It does not forgive arrogance. The stars above dissolved into another vision. This one was different.
No armies.
No burning cities. Instead, a lone traveler knelt beside an injured creature. Another built shelters after violent storms. Another planted trees where forests had burned. Different species. Different ages. Each image ended the same way. The planet rejected them. These were your predecessors? The AI inclined its head. They believed kindness alone made them worthy. They were wrong. The next image showed mighty warriors. Brilliant tacticians. Legendary conquerors. Each survived incredible trials. Each mastered the jungle. Each commanded fear. Again. The planet rejected them. They believed strength alone made them worthy. They were also wrong. The images faded. Only Ethan remained standing beneath the artificial stars. So what does Varkros want? The AI smiled. Balance. The chamber brightened. Symbols slowly appeared around them. Ancient words carved into the air itself. Courage, sacrifice, compassion, responsibility. The AI spoke each word carefully. Courage without compassion becomes cruelty. Compassion without courage becomes weakness. Power without sacrifice becomes tyranny. Wisdom without responsibility becomes indifference. The words slowly merged into a single glowing symbol. The ruler of Varkros must possess all. Ethan looked at the symbol for several silent moments. Then laughed softly. You've definitely got the wrong person. You crossed a death world alone. I had no choice. You protected creatures that wished to kill you. They were injured. You shared food during the lightning storms. They were hungry. You risked your own life for another. It was the right thing to do. The AI nodded. Exactly. Only then did Ethan realize what the intelligence was saying. Everything he considered ordinary, Varkros considered extraordinary. The Guardian slowly entered the chamber. The gigantic beast lowered itself beside Ethan. Its enormous amber eyes never left the ancient intelligence. The AI stepped closer. Millions of glowing particles drifted around the Guardian's scar. The first guardian. It has served every age. Ethan gently rested one hand against the creature's scales. It trusted me. No. The AI corrected. It judged you. A new image appeared. The moment Ethan removed the metal shard from the guardian's side. Then another. The volcanic eruption. The acid river. The lightning canyon. Every challenge. Every decision. Every sacrifice. You were never wandering. The AI explained. You were being tested. Ethan slowly looked toward the chamber entrance. So every creature, every trial, every storm. They were watching. For millions of years. A chill ran down Ethan's spine. He had never been alone. Not for a single moment. The AI raised its hand once again. The floor beneath Ethan glowed softly. Stone shifted. From the center of the chamber rose an ancient pedestal. Upon it rested a magnificent crown unlike any royal symbol Ethan had ever imagined. It wasn't made of gold. Or jewels. Living crystal intertwined with silver-black metal resembling tree roots. Tiny stars shimmered within its surface. It seemed almost alive. The guardian lowered its head. Every statue lining the chamber bowed. The air itself grew warmer. The crown of Varkros. The Ari's voice echoed through the hall. It awaits its rightful bearer. The chamber fell silent. Everyone waited. Ethan slowly approached. He studied the crown carefully. It radiated quiet power. Not domination. Responsibility. He reached toward it. His fingertips stopped only centimeters away. Then he withdrew his hand. The AI remained silent. I can't. The words barely rose above a whisper. I haven't earned this. The guardian tilted its enormous head. Ethan looked toward the countless ancient statues. I survived. That doesn't make me a king. I helped because it was right. Not because I wanted a reward. He looked directly into the Ari's glowing eyes. If this crown belongs to someone worthy, then they should wear it. I'm not that person. The chamber became completely still.
No disappointment. No anger.
Only quiet understanding. The AI slowly smiled. Then your heart remains unchanged. It bowed respectfully. And that is why the coronation cannot yet begin. Ethan blinked. What? The crown cannot be claimed. It must be given. The ruler is never chosen by the AI. Nor by ancient law. Nor by blood. The holographic figure turned toward the chamber entrance. The planet itself must crown its king. Before Ethan could ask another question. A sharp tone interrupted the silence. A sound unlike anything he had heard inside the ruins. Mechanical.
Urgent.
Red lights suddenly flashed across the chamber walls. Ancient consoles awakened one after another. The peaceful blue glow shifted to crimson. The Ari's calm expression disappeared for the first time. Its eyes focused somewhere far beyond the mountain.
Orbital sensors.
Still functioning after millions of years. Ancient displays illuminated across the chamber. Hundreds of symbols appeared above the planet. Ships. Dozens. Then hundreds more. An enormous fleet had entered Varkros' orbit. The Ari's voice became grave. They have come. Ethan stared at the growing formation above the holographic planet. Who? The ancient intelligence looked directly at him. The ones who believe Varkros is theirs to conquer. The ancient warning echoed through every chamber beneath Varkros. Red light pulsed across walls that had remained silent for millions of years. Above the central platform, the holographic image of the planet rotated slowly while hundreds of bright crimson markers appeared in orbit. One after another. Then dozens more. Then entire formations. Ethan's military instincts immediately recognized the pattern. Not explorers. Not scientists. An invasion fleet. His expression hardened. They came prepared. The ancient AI studied the tactical display. They expected ruins. They did not expect resistance. The Guardian released a low growl that rolled through the chamber like distant thunder. Every crystal in the hall vibrated. Outside. The jungle answered. Thousands of distant roars echoed across mountains, forests, and volcanic valleys. The sound was so immense that the mountain itself seemed to shake. Ethan looked toward the entrance. They heard. The AI inclined its head. They always hear. Far above Varkros. The flagship Resolute Dominion emerged from hyperspace. Its black hull stretched nearly 6 kilometers from bow to stern. Behind it drifted cruisers, destroyers, assault carriers, and heavy landing ships belonging to the Galactic Coalition Expeditionary Force. Bridge officers stared silently at the world below. Even veteran commanders looked uneasy. A young Vesic sensor officer clicked his mandibles nervously. General. I'm detecting unusually high biosignatures. General Kayla barely looked up. Expected. Predator density is increasing. They always gather near landing zones. The officer hesitated.
No, General.
They're gathering. He zoomed the planetary scan. Everywhere. The tactical display filled with moving life signs.
Million.
Not scattered. Converging. As if responding to the same command. Murmurs spread across the bridge. Another officer turned toward the general. This has never been observed. General Kayla remained calm. It changes nothing. His golden eyes narrowed toward the planet. We retrieve the ancient technology. We leave.
No unnecessary engagement.
The bridge fell silent. None of them truly believed it would be that simple. Several decks below. Another familiar face watched the orbital display. Commander Zorvak. The instructor who had dismissed Ethan. His massive reptilian hands remained clasped behind his back. He had argued against this mission from the beginning. Deathworlds buried secrets. Ancient civilizations buried worse ones. But the Coalition Senate had overruled military caution. Reports of impossible energy readings beneath Varkros had changed everything. One civilian minister stood nearby. If the legends are true, the technology below could make every fleet in the galaxy obsolete. Another smiled greedily. And whoever controls it controls civilization. Zorvak finally spoke. Or destroys it. Neither politician answered. Dropships descended through black storm clouds. Dozens. Then hundreds. Their engines roared across the jungle canopy. Predators vanished into the trees. Birds abandoned the skies. Even the wind seemed to disappear. The first landing force touched down inside a wide clearing. Power-armored soldiers immediately established defensive positions. Motion scanners activated. Heavy plasma cannons deployed. Everything appeared normal. Then one private frowned. Sir. What is it? There are tracks. The captain looked down. Gigantic footprints surrounded the landing zone. Thousands of them. Old. Fresh. Some only minutes old. The captain's voice became uneasy. Stay alert. Another soldier whispered. It feels like we are standing inside someone's nest, deep beneath the mountain. Ethan watched everything unfold through ancient orbital displays. The AI projected live images gathered from forgotten sensor towers hidden throughout the jungle. They're spreading quickly. They seek the heart chamber. The crystal core. Yes. Ethan folded his arms. They'll never stop. No. They believe power belongs to those who seize it. The Guardian looked toward Ethan. Its amber eyes waited. The AI did the same. Neither spoke. Neither needed to. They were waiting for a decision. Ethan stared at the advancing invasion force. Then quietly asked, how many creatures live on Varkros? The AI smiled slightly. You have met only a fraction. Can they understand me? They already do. Outside. The jungle breathed. Ethan stepped through the ancient gateway. The Guardian walked beside him. As soon as his boots touched the forest floor, movement erupted across the landscape. Not attacks. Arrival. Massive herbivores emerged first. Then armored predators. Winged hunters landed atop towering cliffs. Creatures climbed from rivers. Others descended from the volcanic slopes. The clearing slowly filled. Hundreds. Then thousands. None threatened Ethan. They simply waited. Watching him. The Guardian moved forward. It released the same deep vibration Ethan had heard days earlier. The sound rolled endlessly through the jungle. Every creature lowered its head. Ethan slowly realized something. They weren't bowing to the Guardian. They were looking at him. He felt completely unworthy of the moment. I never wanted this. The Guardian gently nudged him with its enormous head, as if answering. No one ever truly did. Several kilometers away. Coalition scouts advanced through dense jungle. Their scanners malfunctioned constantly. Navigation satellites lost lock every few minutes. Entire squads reported hearing footsteps despite detecting nothing. Private Serek stopped walking. Captain. I think something's following us. The captain checked thermal imaging. Blank.
No contacts.
A twig snapped. Every rifle swung toward the trees. Nothing. Then another snap. Behind them. Again. Nothing. The jungle seemed to breathe around them. One nervous soldier laughed. I hate this planet. No one disagreed. Ethan climbed a massive stone outcrop overlooking the valley. From there he could see the invading columns cutting paths through ancient forests. Explosives shattered trees. Bulldozers flattened vegetation. Creatures fled deeper into the jungle. His jaw tightened. They're destroying everything. The Ari's voice echoed softly through a floating crystal beside him. They do not understand. They're soldiers. They're following orders. So were you. Ethan remained silent. That truth hurt. He remembered academy lectures. Secure objectives. Neutralize resistance. Advance. No one had ever taught respect for worlds like this. Only conquest. He looked toward the Guardian. We stopped them. The beast's enormous eyes brightened. But no unnecessary killing. The AI watched him carefully. You choose mercy. I choose humanity. The Guardian lifted its head toward the heavens. This time. It roared. The sound shook the entire valley. One roar became dozens. Dozens became hundreds. Hundreds became thousands. Across forests. Across rivers. Across volcanic mountains. Every apex predator answered. The earth itself seemed alive. Coalition soldiers froze. Motion sensors overloaded. Warning alarms screamed simultaneously. One technician stared at his scanner. It can't be. The display simply read, biological contacts. Too many to count. Trees began moving. Not from wind. From bodies. Gigantic shapes stepped from the shadows. Armored beasts. Winged leviathans. Massive horned titans. Predators larger than tanks. Within moments. The expeditionary force found itself completely surrounded. No attacks came. Only silence. Commander Zorvak stepped from his command vehicle. His eyes widened. Standing atop the stone ridge. A lone human overlooked the valley. Dirty. Scarred. Alive. Ethan. The human slowly walked down the ridge. The Guardian followed one step behind him. Then another predator. Then another. Soon an entire army of Deathworld creatures moved with him. Not driving him. Following him. Coalition soldiers instinctively raised their weapons. Every beast immediately tensed. Ethan raised one hand. The predators stopped. Instantly. Without hesitation. A silence heavier than any battlefield settled across the valley. General Kayla stared in disbelief. They obey him. One scientist whispered, Impossible. Commander Zorvak could barely speak. No. I trained that cadet. Another officer shook his head. You exiled him. No one fired. No one moved. The balance between war and peace rested entirely on the human they had once condemned. Then, high above the clouds, The flagship received new orders from Coalition High Command. General Kalis' communicator chimed. He listened. His expression hardened. They've decided. Commander Zorvak looked at him. Decided what? The general slowly lowered the communicator. If we cannot secure the ruins, we destroy them. Before anyone on the surface could react. The invasion fleet in orbit repositioned. The largest battleships turned their ventral batteries toward Varkros. A brilliant sphere of white energy began forming beneath the lead dreadnought. The first orbital strike was charging. The heavens split apart. A sphere of blinding white energy expanded beneath the coalition dreadnought, illuminating the black storm clouds surrounding Varkros. Even from the planet's surface, its growing brilliance painted the jungle in pale light. The predators became restless. Massive beasts stamped their feet. Winged leviathans spread their enormous wings. The Guardian stepped protectively in front of Ethan, its amber eyes fixed on the sky. Across the valley, coalition soldiers tightened their grip on their weapons. No one spoke. Every living creature understood the same truth. If that weapon fired, the valley would cease to exist. General Kayla watched the charging cannon through his helmet display. Power level? 91%. General. Commander Zorvak stepped toward him. Cancel the strike. The order came directly from High Command. Then ignore it. Kayla slowly looked at his old friend. You know I cannot. Zorvak's jaw tightened. You'll kill everyone down there. The general answered quietly. If those ruins contain what our intelligence believes, allowing one man to control them is a greater risk. Far below, Ethan looked toward the ancient mountain behind him. The Ari's voice echoed from the floating crystal at his side. The first strike cannot be stopped from here. Then where? There is only one place. The heart. The Guardian turned without hesitation and began running toward the hidden gateway. Not away from danger. Toward it. Ethan understood immediately. Keep the soldiers alive. He shouted toward Commander Zorvak across the valley. The reptilian officer looked confused. What are you doing? Trying to save all of us. Without waiting for another question, Ethan sprinted after the Guardian. The giant beast thundered through the jungle, effortlessly clearing fallen trees and massive boulders. Behind them, the ground shook beneath thousands of creatures. But none followed. Instead, every predator turned toward the coalition forces. Not to attack. To form a living wall. A barrier between the invaders and the mountain. Commander Zorvak watched in disbelief. They are protecting him. One young lieutenant whispered, No. They're buying him time. Ethan raced through the ancient gateway and into the forgotten corridors. The AI appeared beside him as a shimmering projection, effortlessly keeping pace. Hurry. The orbital weapon will fire in less than 6 minutes. They descended deeper than Ethan had gone before. Past the Hall of Guardians. Past the Chamber of the Living Crown. Massive stone doors opened automatically as he approached, revealing tunnels untouched for countless ages. The architecture slowly changed. The walls no longer resembled carved stone. Instead, they pulsed. Soft streams of blue light flowed beneath translucent surfaces like veins beneath living skin. Ethan touched one cautiously. Warm. It responded instantly. The light brightened beneath his fingertips before spreading farther into the tunnel. It's alive. The AI nodded. Everything beneath this mountain lives. The descent continued. Gravity itself seemed to weaken. Water flowed upward along crystal walls. Ancient roots intertwined with glowing metal. The deeper they traveled, the more impossible the world became. Ethan stopped suddenly. Ahead stood an enormous chamber unlike anything he had seen. It stretched beyond visible distance. Floating islands of crystal drifted through the air. Waterfalls rose instead of falling. Stars shimmered inside transparent pillars despite being deep beneath the planet's crust. In the center floated an immense sphere nearly a kilometer across. It resembled a heart. Not because of its shape. Because it pulsed. Slowly. Powerfully. With every pulse, the chamber breathed. The AI lowered its head. The heart of Varkros. Ethan stood speechless. This powers the planet? The AI answered softly. No. It is the planet. Millions of tiny lights awakened across the chamber. One by one, they gathered around the immense sphere. Each became another holographic figure. Different species. Different ages. Thousands of them. Some were towering giants. Others no larger than children. They formed a silent circle around Ethan. He instinctively reached for his knife. The AI gently raised one hand. They are memories. The figures slowly came alive. One stepped toward the heart. Immediately, scenes unfolded around Ethan. The ancient visitor arrived with fleets, demanded obedience, declared ownership. The heart remained silent.
Moments later.
The planet rejected him. The vision vanished. Another figure approached. A brilliant scientist. She wished only to unlock the heart's limitless knowledge. She never asked permission. She believed understanding meant possession. Again. The heart rejected her. Another. A legendary warrior. Another empire. Another conqueror. Another failure. The visions came faster. Hundreds. Thousands. Millions of years compressed into moments. Every civilization had sought the same prize. Power. Immortality. Dominion. Everyone had failed. The chamber slowly became quiet once more. Ethan finally asked, "Why show me this?" The AI looked toward the immense living sphere. Because they all made the same mistake. They believed Varkros existed to serve them. The heart pulsed again. This time, the chamber itself changed. Instead of ancient visitors, Ethan saw memories of himself. The injured guardian. The poisonous river. The lightning storm. The starving creatures. The volcanic eruption. Every choice. Every sacrifice. Every moment when survival could have come before compassion. The heart replayed them all. You never asked what the planet could give you. The AI spoke quietly. You asked what needed protecting. Ethan looked down. I only did what anyone should. The holographic figures surrounding him suddenly turned. Not toward the heart. Toward Ethan. The AI smiled. No. You did what a human should. The chamber darkened. The immense sphere began glowing brighter. Images appeared across its surface. Earth. Blue oceans. Green forests. Children laughing beneath open skies. The sight hit Ethan harder than any battle. He hadn't seen home since joining the academy. He hadn't realized how much he missed it. The AI continued. Your species fascinated us. Ethan slowly looked up. You knew about Earth? We watched. Why? Hope. Another image appeared. Early humans sharing food. Protecting wounded tribe members. Building communities. Risking themselves for strangers. Then came wars. Cruelty.
Destruction.
Ethan's expression fell. We've done terrible things. Yes. The AI did not deny it. But unlike those before you. The images shifted again.
Humans rebuilding.
Former enemies becoming allies. Doctors entering plague zones. Firefighters rushing into burning buildings. Explorers risking everything for discovery. Parents sacrificing for children. Strangers helping strangers during disasters. The Ari's voice carried quiet admiration. Your species possesses a contradiction no other civilization has sustained. You are capable of terrible violence. And extraordinary compassion. The heart pulsed brighter. When necessary. You become warriors. When possible. You choose kindness. Ethan whispered, not all humans. No species embodies every virtue. The AI replied. But humanity never stopped trying. Silence filled the chamber. Finally, Ethan understood. Varkros had never searched for the strongest, nor the smartest, nor the oldest civilization. It had searched for balance. 4 millions of years. Waiting. Watching. Judging. Until one species proved capable of holding both strength and mercy without surrendering either. Suddenly, the chamber shook violently. Dust drifted from the ceiling. The Ari's peaceful expression vanished. The orbital weapon. The countdown had ended. Ethan looked toward the immense living sphere. What happens if they fire? The AI answered with complete honesty. The heart will defend itself. Can it? It has before. The immense sphere pulsed once. Then again. Each beat grew stronger. Crystal islands began rotating. Rivers of light surged through every wall. Far above, throughout the jungles, mountains, and oceans of Varkros. Every creature lifted its head at the exact same moment. The Guardian roared toward the sky. The ground trembled beneath the feet of countless living beings. Deep within the planet, the heart of Varkros had begun to awaken. The heart of Varkros beat once. A deep, resonant pulse surged through the living chamber, flowing into every crystal vein beneath the planet's surface. Then it beat again. The entire world answered. Across jungles, volcanoes, mountains, rivers, and endless forests, every living creature stopped what it was doing. Predators halted in mid-hunt. Winged leviathans folded their wings. Massive herbivores lifted their heads toward the sky. Even the poisonous vines that covered ancient ruins slowly withdrew, as though making way for something older than instinct. The pulse spread into orbit. Every coalition ship experienced the same phenomenon. Bridge lights flickered. Navigation systems recalibrated without command. Targeting computers briefly shut down before restarting. Alarm sirens echoed through the flagship. A Vesic technician stared in disbelief. General. The planet just emitted an energy wave. General Kayla folded his arms. Weapon. The technician shook his head. No. It touched every system. What did it do? A long silence followed. The officer looked even more confused. Nothing. Another engineer interrupted. Or perhaps it was warning us. The bridge became quiet. No one wanted to admit the same thought. The planet knew they were here. Deep beneath the surface, Ethan watched streams of blue energy race through the chamber surrounding the heart. The AI turned toward him. The awakening has begun. Can it stop the fleet? It could. The answer surprised Ethan. But it will not. Why? Because Varkros was never created to destroy civilizations. The heart pulsed again. It gives them a choice. Ethan slowly nodded. And if they choose wrong? The AI looked toward the ceiling. Then the consequences become their own. Above the jungle, hundreds of assault craft broke formation. General Kayla had seen enough. Launch the ground offensive. The command spread instantly. Thousands of armored soldiers descended from orbit. Heavy walkers smashed into the forest floor. Combat drones filled the skies. Dropships roared over the canopy. The jungle disappeared beneath engines and plasma exhaust. Commander Zorvak stood near the front lines. His instinct screamed that everything about this mission had become a mistake. He activated a private communication channel. This is Commander Zorvak. I formally request immediate suspension of offensive operations. Static. Then the voice of a coalition minister answered. Request denied. The ruins belong to the coalition. They belong to no one. The human has compromised your judgment. Zorvak clenched his jaw. You've never stood on this planet. No. But I know power when I see it. The transmission ended. He stared silently toward the ancient mountain. They are blind. Ethan emerged from the hidden gateway. The Guardian waited. So did thousands of creatures. No panic filled the valley. Only expectation. The Ari's words echoed in Ethan's mind. The planet gives them a choice. He climbed onto a towering stone ridge overlooking the battlefield. Coalition forces stretched across kilometers of jungle. Warships filled the sky. Against them stood nature, a force no military academy had ever prepared him to command. The Guardian stepped beside him. Its amber eyes searched Ethan's face. The human smiled faintly. "I'm still not your king." The Guardian gently nudged his shoulder, as if saying, "That was never the point." The first plasma artillery barrage erupted. Blue fire screamed across the valley. Ethan reacted instantly. "Move!" The Guardian roared. Its command rippled through the jungle. The creatures scattered in perfect coordination. Massive herbivores charged into hidden ravines. Winged predators climbed above the blast radius. Even the smallest animals vanished beneath dense roots. The bombardment struck empty ground. General Kayla narrowed his eyes. They anticipated the attack. Another barrage followed. Again. Nothing.
No casualties. No panic.
"They're reading us," the general whispered.
No.
Commander Zorvac corrected quietly. "Someone is leading them." Ethan refused to waste lives. Instead of charging directly into coalition lines, he studied the terrain. Steep cliffs, acid rivers, ancient sinkholes, dense forests. The planet itself offered countless advantages. He remembered Academy strategy lessons. Never fight the enemy's strength. Force them into yours. The 1st Armored Battalion advanced confidently.
Moments later.
The ground beneath them collapsed. Not because of traps. Because Ethan had observed unstable volcanic rock days earlier. The heavy walkers sank into enormous fissures.
No explosions. No bloodshed.
Just immobilized machines. Elsewhere, assault vehicles attempted to flank through dense jungle. The enormous vine organism Ethan had once fed slowly tightened around the vehicles. Engines stalled. Tracks locked. Entire columns became trapped without a single shot fired. Coalition officers stared in disbelief. Who planned this? General Kayla answered quietly. The cadet. The battle intensified. Dropships swooped low over the jungle. Immediately, thousands of winged predators erupted from the canopy. Not attacking the pilots. Targeting the engines. Sharp talons ripped away stabilizers. One transport spiraled harmlessly into a marsh. Another landed upside down. Its crew emerged alive but surrounded. Massive horned beasts blocked every escape route. None attacked. They simply waited. As though expecting surrender. Confused soldiers slowly lowered their weapons. Farther east. A company of infantry became trapped between towering predators. Private Seric trembled behind a fallen log. "We are dead." One enormous beast approached. Its jaws alone could swallow him whole. The creature stopped. Looked directly into his eyes. Then walked past him. Ignoring every soldier. Seric blinked. It spared us. Nearby, another squad experienced the same thing. Again and again. The predators fought only when attacked. Never otherwise. Commander Zorvac watched through battlefield drones. His voice barely rose above a whisper. The human gave them rules. A coalition scientist hurried toward General Kayla. "You need to see this." Battlefield recordings appeared. Frame after frame. The same impossible pattern. The creatures consistently protected wounded soldiers. Guided civilians away from danger. Destroyed weapons. Ignored surrendering troops. General Kayla frowned. "This isn't animal behavior." "No." The scientist answered. "It resembles military discipline." Silence settled over the command center. Finally, Commander Zorvac spoke. "No. It resembles humanity." Deep inside the flagship, a frightened communications officer intercepted encrypted transmissions. Not from the battlefield. From Coalition High Command. He froze. "General." Kayla accepted the recording. The color slowly drained from his face. The message wasn't about recovering ancient technology. It never had been. The Senate already knew Varkros contained no superweapon. Instead, they feared what the ancient civilization represented. Proof that the Coalition's version of galactic history was incomplete. proof that humanity's origins might be far older than anyone believed. The expedition had never been about discovery. It was about erasing evidence. One minister's recorded voice echoed through the bridge. If the human survives, the truth survives. Destroy both. Commander Zorvak closed his eyes. So, they sacrificed an innocent cadet to bury history. General Kayla slowly lowered the communicator. Everything they had fought for, everything they believed, had been manipulated. Outside, the battle gradually slowed. Coalition soldiers no longer advanced. Many simply stared at the creatures surrounding them. Confusion replaced hatred. Questions replaced certainty. Ethan looked across the battlefield. He saw frightened young recruits. Not monsters. Not conquerors. People following orders. Exactly as he once had. He turned toward the Guardian. This ends today. The giant beast lowered its head. The Ari's voice echoed softly through the crystal communicator attached to Ethan's belt. The fleet still awaits its final command. Ethan nodded. I know. Without another word. He removed his knife. Placed it carefully upon the ground. Then he unfastened his survival pack. His communicator. His remaining weapons. Everything. Commander Zorvak watched from across the valley. What is he doing? General Kayla followed Ethan with his eyes. The answer came moments later. The lone human stepped away from the army of Deathworld creatures. Away from the jungle. Away from safety. He walked alone across the scarred battlefield. Toward the massive Coalition landing platform. Toward the shuttle waiting there. Toward the flagship hanging high above Varkros. Not as a soldier. Not as a king. But as one man determined to end a war before another life was lost. The battlefield watched in silence. No plasma fire.
No explosions.
No war cries. Only the steady sound of one man's boots crossing the broken earth. Ethan walked through the center of a battlefield where thousands had expected a massacre only minutes before. Behind him stood the living armies of Varkros. The Guardian remained motionless atop the ridge. Countless apex predators watched from forests, cliffs, and shattered volcanic rock. Not one followed. Not because they couldn't. Because they trusted him. Ahead, hundreds of Coalition soldiers instinctively raised their rifles. A young lieutenant swallowed hard. General. He's coming alone. General Kayla stared through the command viewport. I can see that. Orders? Kayla hesitated. For the first time since the campaign began. He had no answer. Commander Zorvak stepped forward before anyone else could react. He removed his sidearm. Then slowly placed it on the ground. Metal struck stone with a sharp echo. Every nearby soldier looked toward him in disbelief. Commander. He ignored them. Instead, he walked toward Ethan until only a few meters separated them. For several long moments. Neither man spoke. The jungle waited. The fleet waited. The entire planet seemed to hold its breath. Finally, Zorvak broke the silence. I owe you an apology. Ethan's expression remained calm. You don't owe me anything. I judged you. Yes. I believed the evidence. I know. I sent you here. A shadow crossed Ethan's face. You followed the system. I should have questioned it. The words carried more weight than any military medal. For Commander Zorvak, admitting failure in front of his own soldiers was an act of extraordinary humility. He lowered his head. I failed my cadet. Ethan looked at the aging reptilian officer. Then he smiled gently. We all fail someone eventually. What matters is what we do next. High above the battlefield. The conversation was being broadcast across the entire invasion fleet. Every bridge. Every barracks. Every command center. Every soldier heard it. Many had expected threats. Demands. Perhaps revenge. Instead, they heard forgiveness. A young Ilera pilot whispered to her co-pilot, if I had survived what he survived, I would hate us. Her companion nodded silently. So would I. The shuttle carrying Ethan landed inside the massive flagship central hangar. Rows of heavily armed guards surrounded the landing platform. None advanced. None could. Every one of them had watched the battlefield. Every one had seen the impossible. The human had commanded monsters. Yet chosen peace. General Kayla waited beside the shuttle bay. When Ethan stepped inside, dozens of weapons instinctively tracked him. He calmly raised both empty hands. I didn't come to fight. No one lowered their rifles. Not yet. Minutes later. The bridge of the Resolute Dominion fell completely silent.
Coalition admirale.
Military commanders. Government ministers connected through holographic projection. All watched the lone human standing in the center of the room. One senator spoke first. So, the exile survives. Ethan recognized him immediately. Minister Valek. The politician whose voice had appeared in the secret recording. The same man who had ordered Varkros erased. Valek smiled coldly. You've caused considerable inconvenience. Ethan ignored the insult. You lied. I protected civilization. You sacrificed innocent people. I made necessary decisions. You framed me. You were expendable. The bridge became painfully quiet. Several officers exchanged uneasy glances. Valek had admitted everything. Publicly. He didn't even realize it. Commander Zorvak slowly turned toward the assembled admirals. You heard him. General Kayla nodded. I did. One communications officer immediately began transmitting the recording to every coalition vessel. Valek's expression changed instantly. Terminate that broadcast. No one moved. Another admiral quietly removed his command insignia. Then another. A Vesic fleet captain stepped forward. I will not serve corruption. His badge struck the floor. An Illyri Commodore followed. Nor will I. Within moments. Officers across the bridge removed symbols of rank. Not because they rejected discipline. Because they rejected Dishina. The mutiny began without a single shot. Minister Valek's hologram flickered with rage. You swore loyalty. General Kayla answered calmly. I swore loyalty to the coalition. Not to lies. You will obey. Commander Zorvak stepped beside Ethan. No. The bridge doors opened. Dozens more officers entered. None carried weapons. Each silently stood beside Kayla. Beside Ethan. Beside truth. Valek stared in disbelief. You're throwing away your careers. General Kayla looked toward the planet below. No. We are trying to save our souls. The emergency council dissolved into chaos. Some politicians demanded immediate orbital bombardment. Others argued for retreat. Many simply disconnected their transmissions. Without military support. Their authority collapsed. Across the fleet, captains independently powered down weapon systems. Targeting arrays disengaged. Orbital cannons rotated harmlessly away from Varkros. Dropships received new orders. Stand down. Medical vessels launched instead. Battlefield casualties, human, alien, and even injured native creatures, were collected together. For the first time. Coalition doctors treated Death World animals alongside soldiers. Several medics looked nervous. The Guardian calmly allowed them to approach an injured juvenile predator. The impossible happened again. Fear slowly became trust. Ethan stood near the bridge viewport, watching the planet below. Blue energy flowed beneath forests and mountains like glowing rivers. The heart of Varkros continued pulsing. The Ari's voice quietly emerged from the crystal communicator clipped to Ethan's belt. You have ended the war. Ethan shook his head. No. The soldiers ended it. They chose. The AI remained silent for a moment. Exactly. The Guardian had once chosen trust. Commander Zorvak had chosen truth. General Kayla had chosen honor. Now an entire fleet had chosen conscience over obedience. Perhaps. That had always been humanity's greatest strength. not forcing others to change, inspiring them to. Commander Zorvak approached quietly. The fleet is withdrawing. Good. But Ethan turned. The heart continues awakening. The AI spoke before Zorvak could continue. It must. General Kayla frowned. If the war is over, why isn't the planet stopping? The crystal remained silent for several moments. Then answered. Because this was never the final trial. Every person on the bridge became still. Ethan looked toward the stars. What does that mean? The planet has watched. It has judged. It has witnessed your choices. Another powerful pulse shook the flagship. Outside the viewport, the oceans of Varkros began glowing. Mountain ranges shimmered with rivers of blue light. Storm clouds rotated into a vast spiral visible from orbit. Ancient structures hidden beneath forests slowly emerged from the earth. The entire planet was changing. General Kayla whispered, "It's awakening." The Ari's voice carried throughout the silent bridge. The time of observation has ended. The time of judgment begins. Far below, deep within the living world that had waited millions of years for one worthy soul, Varkros prepared to deliver its final judgment. Silence settled across orbit. The Coalition fleet no longer pointed its weapons toward Varkros. Instead, hundreds of warships drifted motionless beneath the planet's swirling atmosphere, their crews watching in stunned disbelief as blue rivers of light spread across continents that had been considered lifeless for millions of years. No one gave orders. No one dared interrupt. The awakening belonged to the planet, not to the galaxy. Far below, Ethan stood once more before the ancient mountain. The Guardian waited beside him. Commander Zorvak, General Kayla, Coalition officers, scientists, and soldiers stood several paces behind. No one carried weapons. Many had left them behind on the battlefield. For the first time since arriving on Varkros, every species stood together, not as enemies, as witnesses. The AI appeared before them, brighter than ever. The final judgment has concluded. Ethan looked toward the glowing intelligence. And the AI smiled. The heart has chosen. The mountain trembled. The enormous stone gateway slowly opened on its own. Unlike before, warm golden light poured through the entrance instead of cold blue. It felt welcoming, almost alive. The Guardian released a deep, peaceful rumble. Without speaking, it stepped aside, making room for Ethan. As he entered the ancient halls once more, he immediately noticed the difference. Everything had changed. The crystal walls no longer pulsed softly. They shimmered like living starlight. The statues lining the corridor no longer appeared weathered. Fine details hidden beneath ages of dust had returned. Faces, expressions, symbols. It was as though the entire civilization had awakened alongside the planet. Behind Ethan walked representatives from dozens of Coalition species. No one spoke. Even the proudest admirals felt like children entering a sacred place. A young Vesic scientist whispered, "It's beautiful." An elderly Ileri historian wiped tears from her eyes. "We believed this civilization was myth."
Commander Zorvak quietly answered, "No."
"We forgot." The great ceremonial chamber awaited them. The floating crystal crown still rested upon its ancient pedestal. Yet something was different. It no longer seemed like an object. It breathed. Tiny streams of light flowed through its delicate branches like sap through the roots of an ancient tree. The AI turned toward Ethan. "Will you accept now?" Ethan slowly approached the pedestal. His reflection shimmered across the crystal surface. Then he stopped. "No." Several officers exchanged confused looks. The AI tilted its head. "Explain." Ethan turned toward everyone gathered inside the chamber. "I still don't want power." He looked toward the Guardian, then toward Commander Zorvak, then General Kayla, then the frightened soldiers who had nearly died because of lies. "If wearing that crown makes me ruler over others, I refuse." The chamber became perfectly silent. The AI simply smiled. You have learned. The heart of Varkros pulsed once. The chamber transformed. Instead of walls, everyone suddenly stood beneath an endless sky filled with unfamiliar stars. The floor disappeared beneath fields of glowing grass. Mountains stretched across the horizon. The illusion felt completely real. The Ari's voice echoed everywhere. The crown has never represented authority. Images appeared around them. Every ruler of Varkros throughout history. Different species. Different ages. None sat upon thrones. One rebuilt forests after war. Another healed wounded creatures. One gave away his own food during a famine. Another sacrificed herself defending strangers she had only met hours earlier. General Kayla whispered, they were guardians. Not kings. The AI nodded. They served. They did not rule. The illusion shifted again. Ancient children ran laughing beside enormous guardians. Entire civilizations lived in harmony with creatures the modern galaxy called monsters. Cities grew around forests rather than replacing them. Technology strengthened nature. It never consumed it. The crown binds one responsibility. The AI looked toward Ethan. Protect life. Nothing more. The guardian approached the pedestal. Its massive head lowered until its broken horn gently touched the living crown. The crystal immediately began glowing. Then another guardian emerged from the chamber entrance. Then another. Winged leviathans entered. Horned giants. River titans. Countless creatures gathered silently. Each touched the crown in turn. One by one. The coalition delegation watched in amazement. Commander Zorvak slowly understood. They are voting. The AI answered. They are remembering. Finally, the last creature stepped away. The crown rose gently into the air. No machinery held it. No visible force supported it. It simply floated toward Ethan. He did not reach for it. He simply stood still. The crown circled him once, twice, then slowly settled upon his head. The moment it touched him, the heart of Varkros released a pulse unlike anything before. Across the entire planet, volcanoes fell silent. Acid rivers became calm. Storms parted. The eternal black clouds above Varkros slowly opened for the first time in recorded history. Golden sunlight reached the ancient forests. Predators lifted their heads toward the heavens. Flowers hidden for ages bloomed across the jungle floor. The guardian roared. Not in challenge. In celebration. Its call spread endlessly across the world. Millions of creatures answered together. The sound echoed into orbit. Coalition crews rushed toward observation windows. No sensor could explain what they witnessed. The death world was smiling. Inside the ceremonial chamber, Ethan felt no surge of power, no overwhelming strength. Instead, he felt something infinitely heavier. Responsibility. Every heartbeat of the planet. Every living creature. Every forest. Every river. Every life. Not under his control. Entrusted to his care. He slowly removed one hand from the crown. I understand now. The AI bowed deeply. For the first time in countless ages. The Guardian King has returned. Commander Zorvak suddenly dropped to one knee. General Kayla followed. Then every coalition officer. Every scientist. Every soldier. Not because protocol demanded it. Because respect did. The same cadet they had mocked. The same exile they had abandoned. Now stood before them crowned by the very world they had condemned.
No applause echoed. No cheers.
Only profound silence. The kind reserved for history itself. The AI raised one hand. Ancient communication arrays hidden across the planet activated.
Moments latte.
Every coalition world. Every academy. Every government. Every civilian network. Received the same live transmission. The entire galaxy witnessed the ceremony. Billions watched as a human stood beside creatures no civilization had ever understood.
No fleet.
No army.
No throne.
only a crown earned through courage, sacrifice, humility, and compassion. The Ari's voice carried across the stars. The judgment of Varkros has ended. The Guardian has been chosen. No one interrupted. The galaxy simply watched. The AI turned toward Ethan one final time. Its eyes reflected the light of an awakening world. It is time. Ethan looked across the countless faces before him. Former enemies. New allies. Friends. The creatures of Varkros waited quietly behind him. The fleet waited in orbit. The entire galaxy held its breath. All awaited the first command of the king crowned not by conquest, but by a death world itself. No one moved. Across billions of worlds, every screen remained fixed on the humans standing beneath the ancient crown. Military officers waited for orders of conquest. Politicians expected demands. Historians prepared to witness the birth of a new empire. The creatures of Varkros stood silently behind Ethan, their golden, crimson, and emerald eyes watching him with absolute trust. The Guardian remained at his side. The living crown rested lightly upon Ethan's head. It did not feel heavy anymore. It felt honest. The Ari's voice echoed through the ceremonial chamber. The Guardian King will now issue his first command. Every species leaned forward. Every fleet officer held their breath. Even the wind outside seemed to wait. Ethan closed his eyes for only a moment. He remembered the academy. The laughter. The insults. The loneliness. He remembered crashing through the burning skies of Varkros, convinced he had been sentenced to die. He remembered the injured Guardian. The poisonous rivers. The storms. The hungry creatures. The frightened coalition soldiers who had expected monsters and instead found mercy. When he finally opened his eyes, there was no anger left within them. Only purpose. He stepped forward. My first command. His voice carried effortlessly through every ancient transmitter on Varkros. Is that there will be no revenge. Silence answered him. Some officers thought they had misheard. Ethan continued.
No trials. No executions.
No punishment for those who were deceived. His eyes found General Kayla. Then Commander Zorvak. Then the countless young soldiers standing behind them. The guilty will answer for their crimes through justice, not hatred. The innocent will return home. A long silence followed. Then, unexpectedly, General Kayla saluted, not as a superior officer, as a soldier honoring another. One by one, every coalition officer on the platform followed. The sound of armored fists striking chests echoed through the chamber. No order had been given. Respect had become instinct. Hours later, the fleet prepared to depart. But it did not leave as an invasion force. It left as an escort. Warships that had once aimed their weapons at Varkros now formed a protective ring around the planet. Engineers helped restore damaged ecosystems. Medical teams remained to heal wounded creatures. Scientists requested permission before entering ancient ruins. For the first time in galactic history, a death world welcomed visitors. Not because it had become weaker, because it had finally found someone worthy of speaking for it. Weeks passed. Then months. The galaxy slowly changed. The truth surrounding Minister Valek and the corrupt Senate faction spread across every major civilization. Public investigations followed. Hidden records surfaced. The conspiracy that had framed Ethan collapsed under the weight of its own lies. Governments reformed. Military academies rewrote their history courses. The lesson was no longer simple military superiority. Cadets now studied the Battle of Varkros as an example of leadership through restraint. One instructor summarized it perfectly. The strongest commander is the one who wins without creating more enemies. Students copied the words into their journals. None realized they had just described humanity. The Galactic Military Academy also changed. The Great Hall where Ethan had once been mocked now displayed a new monument. Not of a battle. Not of a king. A simple bronze statue showed a human kneeling beside an injured Death World beast. The inscription beneath it read, "Compassion is courage with nothing to gain." Cadets from every species stopped to read those words before beginning their training. Many left inspired. Some left humbled. All left thinking. Varkros itself transformed. Not into a civilized world. It never lost its fierce spirit. Its jungles remained wild. Its predators remained powerful. Its storms still challenged anyone foolish enough to underestimate them. But something fundamental had changed. Visitors no longer arrived seeking conquest. They came seeking wisdom. Young officers trained in survival under the watchful eyes of the Guardians. Scientists learned to observe rather than exploit. Diplomats settled disputes within the ancient valleys, where the planet itself seemed to encourage honesty. Varkros had become something the galaxy had never imagined. A sanctuary. Not because danger had disappeared. Because courage had finally found a home. One evening, Ethan stood atop the same stone ridge where he had once faced the invading fleet. The Guardian rested beside him. The sunset painted the forests in shades of gold and crimson. Far below, alien children laughed while carefully feeding enormous herbivores. Engineers worked alongside native creatures to restore rivers damaged during the invasion. Former soldiers planted young trees where artillery had scarred the earth. Commander Zorvak approached quietly. "You've done something remarkable." Ethan smiled faintly. "We all did." "No." The old commander shook his head. "You reminded us who we wanted to become." Ethan looked toward the horizon. "I almost didn't survive this planet." The Guardian gently nudged his shoulder. Zorvak laughed. "I think the planet would disagree." Later that night, deep beneath the mountain, the heart of Varkros pulsed peacefully. The AI appeared beside Ethan once more. "The galaxy has entered a new age. I hope it lasts." "So do I." The silence between them felt comfortable. Until every crystal in the chamber suddenly dimmed. The heart skipped a beat. Then another. Its rhythm became uneven. The Ari's calm expression vanished. That has never happened before. Ancient consoles awakened around the chamber. Symbols Ethan had never seen raced across their glowing surfaces. The AI stared at one display in particular. Its voice became quieter than Ethan had ever heard it. A signal. Ethan frowned. From where? The ancient intelligence slowly looked upward. Beyond the edge of known space. Another pulse reached the heart. This one was different. Older. Stronger. Unfamiliar. The living planet answered instinctively. Every Guardian across Varkros lifted its head toward the stars. The forests became silent. Even the wind stopped blowing. The AI whispered words that had not been spoken for millions of years. "They have found us." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Who?" The ancient intelligence continued staring into the darkness beyond the galaxy. "I do not know. But whatever is coming." It existed long before the civilizations we remember. Far above Varkros, among countless peaceful stars, one distant point of light suddenly began moving. Not toward any known world. Toward the one planet that had waited millions of years for a worthy guardian. And somewhere beyond the borders of explored space. Something had finally answered Varkros' awakening.